umagang ito ay hatid ko po sa inyo ang tinatawag nating exponential notation. Para saan po ba ang tinatawag nating exponential notation at paano or ano po ba ang gamit ng tinatawag nating exponential notation? So, meron ako dito mga halimbawa. We have here 2 times 2, then we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, then we have another one, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, then, and so on and so forth. So, if you notice, nakikita po natin itong ating ginawa dito mga halimbawa, ito po yung tinatawag nating expanded form. So, pag sinasabi nating expanded form, a lot of mathematical concept that we are facing with. So, to make it shorten the mathematical equation, we will be using the exponential notation. Now, in exponential notation, there are two terms that we will be encountering. What we call the term which is called the base and the exponent. So these are the two terms that we will be facing in a what we call exponential notation. Again, dito po sa tinatawag nating exponential notation, meron po tayong dalawang terms na ating makakasalamuha dito. Ito po yung tinatawag nating base and the exponent. Now, pagdating natin sa high school, mayroon sa algebra, meron po i-introduce sa inyo sa monomial, yung tinatawag nating, let's say for example, we could use the variables which is a as our base and n which is our, a is our base and n is our exponent. So this is what we call the base and n is our exponent. Now, what is the use? What do we mean by base? So, itong base, ang tinatawag natin, ito po yung number na magdi-determine ng tinatawag nating factor. And the exponent, this is the number that would tell how many times are we going to multiply the base. Okay? So, ulitin natin, ang base po, yun po yung factor na isinusulat natin usually sa malaking number. Let's say, for example, substitute natin a, which is 2, which is written in a big letter, then 2 to the power of 2. So that is it. The big 2, that is the base, that is our base, while the small 2 is what we call the exponent. So B stand, or the 2 stand for the factor or the number that we are going to multiply. Then 2, which is the exponent, is what we call the number or the power of this number that we are going to multiply with. Ito po yung nagsasabi kung ilang ulit natin i-multiply ang tinatawag nating base. Okay. Now, in exponential notation, ipapaliwanag po lang natin, meron po tayong tatlo dito, column na para makatulong upang maipaliwanag ng mabuti sa mga bata. So, unahin po natin itong factor form, which is what we call the expanded form, then the standard form, which is called the product. If we are going to multiply 2 times 2, the answer is 4. So this is what we call the standard form, or what we call the product of the given equation. Then, if we have here 2 times 2 times 2, so we are going to multiply it, which is 4. Then 4 times 2, we have here 8. Okay? Now, what about if we are going to multiply 2 times 2? Again, that is 4. Then 4 times 2, that is 8. Then 8 times 2, that is 16. So this is the product of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Another one. 2 times 2, that is 4. 2 times 2, that is 8. Again, 2 times 2, that is 4. Then 4 times 2, that is 8. Then 8 times 2, that is 16. Then 16 times 2, we will have 32. So that is the product of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That is what we call 32. Now, another example we have here, 2 times 2, that is 4. 4 times 2, that is 8. 8 times 2, that is 16. 16 times 2, that is 32. 32 times 2, that is 64. Then 64 times 4, so that is 64 times, 64 times 2, that is 128. So the answer here is 128. So that is the product of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. The product is 128, or that is what we call the product of this expanded notation. Then another example we have here, 2 times 2, that is 4. 2 times 8 times 2, that is 8. 2 times 2 2 times 2, that is 4. 4 times 2, that is 8. 8 times 2, that is 16. 16 times 2, that is 32. 32 times 2, that is 64. Then 64 times 2, that is 128. Then 128 times 2, we have here 16, carry 1. 2 times 2, that is 4 plus 5. 2 times 2, that is 4 plus 1, that is 5. Then 2 times 1, that is 2. Or 1 times 2, that is 256. So that is the product of this expanded notation, which is 2 times 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 2. So we were able to find the product or the standard form by multiplying this equation or this expanded notation. So what about the exponential notation? How can we write the exponential notation of this given equation? So let's say, for example, let's just have an example here. The first example that we have, 2 times 2. So the base here, our base here is 2. So what is the exponent? Our exponent is 2. Because this is the 2 tells how many times we are going to multiply the base, which is the 2. So we have here 2 to the power of 2. So that is the exponential form. Next, 2 times 2 times 2. So again, our base here for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 example we have here. The base that we have is 2. Now all we have to do now is we are just going to count how many times are we going to multiply the base. Then we were able to put, or we were able to arrive into the what we call exponent. So the second example we have here, 2 times 2 times 2. How many times did we multiply the 2? We multiplied 3 times. So the exponent of the second example we have 3. Now for the third example, the base again is 2. Yes, the base is 2. Then we're going to count how many times are we going to multiply it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our power or our exponent here is 4. So 2 to the power of 4. Again, by the way, this could be read as 2 to the power of 3 or 2 cubes. Okay? Then we have here 2 to the power of 4. Then how did we get or where did we get this 4? Kinuha po natin yan kung ilang beses tayo nag-multiply. So, the next example here, we have 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, how many times, yes, we have 5. So, 2 again is our base, then 5 is our exponent. So, how are we going to read it? 2 to the power of 5 or 2 to the power of 5. So, that is our, 2 is our base, while 5 is our exponent. So, let's proceed. So, in the next example we have here, so the base again is 2. Then let us just count the number of 2's that we multiplied. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, our exponent is 7. So, how do we say it? 2 to the power of 7. Then, the last example here. So, again, our base is 2. So, all we have to do, again, is we are just going to count the number of 2's that we multiply. Okay, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, our exponent here is 8. So, using this expanded form, we were able to form the exponential form of an equation. So, for the example that we have here, 2 to the 2 times 2, the exponential notation of it is 2 to the power of 2. And for the 2 times 2 times 2, we have here 2 to the power of 3. Then, for the 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, we have here 2 to the power of 4. Then, another one, we have here 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have here 2 to the power of 5. Then, we have another one, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So, we have here 2 to the power of 7. Then, the last one, since we have 8 times that we multiply the 2, so we put that 8 and the base is the 2. So, we were able to write the exponential notation of the expanded form of this standard form of or a product of this expanded notation. Now, instead of using this one, we can use this exponential form to make our operation more easier. Kasi kapag ganito po ang ating ginagawa, may tendency po na nalilito tayo. Now, bakit natin pinag-aralan ang exponential notation or the exponential form for us to solve the mathematical equation more easier? Kasi pag sobrang haba, may tendency po na magkakaroon tayo ng pagkakamali. That's why we need to study or we need to learn the what we call exponential notation. Now, let's go back with our discussion a while ago. Meron po tayo dito mga halimbawa. Balikan lang po natin ang ating mga halimbawa. So, the first example that I have here, that I had been discussed a while ago, we have here, so we have here 2 to the power of 2. So, para sa ngayon lang po nakapagbukas ng kanilang ng ating YouTube channel, balikan po natin ang aking tinalakay sa nakalipas na mga sandali. So, ito po yung 2 na isinulat natin sa malaki. Ito po ay tinatawag nating base. This is what we call the base. While the number that is written in a small one, that is what we call the exponent. I hope it is very clear to everybody para po hindi kayo malilito. So, ulitin po natin doon po sa halimbawa na binigay ko kanina. Ito pong nakasulat dito sa pisara. So, 2, which is our base, and 2, which is written in a small number, that is what we call the exponent. Yung base po, ito po yung pinaka-factor natin. Then, pagkatapos yung maliit na number na isinulat dito sa itaas, ang exponent na ang ibig sabihin ng exponent, ito po yung magdi-determine kung ilang ulit natin i-multiply ang ating base. Okay? So, another one, meron ako ditong halimbawa. So, this one, try to take a look with it. So, meron akong halimbawa dito, 5 to the power of 3 or 5 cubes. So again, the big number which is 5, that is the base. While the 3 which is written in a red one, which is written in a small number, that is the exponent. The 5 is base because this is the number that we are going to multiply. Then the 3, which is the exponent, it tells or it determines how many times are we going to multiply the factor or the base. Okay? So, another example, meron po tayo ditong halimbawa. So, I have here another example, 10 to the power of 2 or 10 squared. So, 10, again, this is the base, and 2, which is written in a small number, that is what we call exponent. So, the 10, which is the base, this is the number or the factor that we are going to multiply, and the small one determines or tells how many times are we going to multiply the base. So, that's it. So, I hope this is very much clear to everybody. So, magbibigay po ako ng iba pang halimbawa dito sa ating dito sa example natin na base and exponent. Now, let's say for example, so I have to erase this one. Okay, we will use this the second example that we have, which is what we call 5 to the power of 3 or 5 cubes. So if we are going to write, so let's say 5 to the power of 3 or 3 cubes, then how are we going to write the expanded notation of this equation or exponential form? So we are just simply write 5, which is the base. Then how many times are we going to multiply it? We are going to multiply it by itself 5 or 3 times. So that's it. So how are we going to get the product or the standard form of it? So simply, you're just going to multiply it. 5 times 5, which is 25. Then 25 times 5. So the product of it is 25. Then you have to multiply it again here. So that would become 125. That is the product of 5 times 5 times 5, or to make it short, 5 to the power of 3 or 5 cubes. Okay, maliwanag po mga bata na nanonood sa akin ngayon sa aking YouTube channel. Ulitin ko po para po maliwanagan ang lahat. So, ito po yung example ng ating exponential form or exponential notation. So, 5 to the power of 3 or 5 cubes, that is our exponential notation. The 5 is the base, while 3 is the exponent. Then, paano natin isusulat ang factor form or yung expanded form? So, look at this. Since we have 3 times, or 3, which is the power or the exponent, so we are just going to write 5, which is our base. So, 5 times 5 times 5. So, that is the expanded form. Then, to get the standard form or the product, you're just going to multiply 5 times 5, which is 25. Then the product would be multiplied again with the last number, which is 5. So we will be arriving into this answer, which is 125. So let's say for example, magbibigay tayo ng isa pang halimbawa. 5 to the power of 4. So, paano natin isusulat ang expanded form? So again, our base, dito po tayo magbe-base, o dito po tayo mag-base ating sagot, which is 5 again. So how many times are we going to multiply it? We are going to multiply the number by itself 4 times. 5 times 5 times 5. So that's it. So this is how are we going to express the exponential notation into expanded form or the factor form. So if we are going to multiply it, 5 times 5, that is 25. Then if you are going to multiply it by 5, so you will be arriving into 125. Then again, you are going to multiply it again with 5, so you will have 5 times 5, that is 25, carry 2. 2 times 5, that is 10 plus 2, that is 12, carry 1. 5 times 1, that is 5 plus 1, that is 525. So, the product of 5 to the power of 4, or 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is 525. So, with the use of this exponential notation, we were able to solve the mathematical equation more easier. Yun po ang dahilan kung bakit natin inaaral ang tinatawag nating expanded notation. Okay, another example that we have here. So let's say for example, yung binigay ko sa kaninyang example, meron tayong 10 to the power of 2. So 10, which is the base, then 2 is our exponent. So how are we going to express the expanded notation of it? So 10 times 2, or 10 times 10. So that is how are we going to express this 10 to the power of 2. So we have 10 times 10. So the product here is 100. Okay? So in the case of base, if we are going to use the base, which is 10, all you have to do is you are just going to count the number of you are just consider the 2 as the number of zeros that we are going to write. So ilan ba yung exponent natin? Ano ba yung exponent natin dito na ginamit? 2. So that's tell how many zeros are we going to write. So that's why we have 2 zeros. Then multiply the remaining number, which is 1, times by itself, that is 1. So we were able to get it. So pag 10 po natin ginagamit, hindi na kailangan mag-multiply ka pa na mag-multiply. All you have to do is just to look at the exponent or the power of the given, then write directly into zeros. Then you just have to use it as your number of zeros that you're going to write. Then the remaining number, which is 1. So that's it. We were able to get 100. Let's say for example 10 to the power of 5. So how many zeros are we going to write here? So we have 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1. So what is the answer for this? So we have 10 to the power of 5, that is equivalent to 100,000. So, as easy as that. So, paano natin isusulat ang expanded notation? 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 10. So if we are going to solve this one, if we are going to multiply 10 times 10, that is 100. 100 times 10, that is 1,000. Then 1,000 times 10, that is 10,000. Then 10,000 times 10, that is 100,000. So, gaya ng aking nabanggit kanina, yun pong ating exponent, yun po yung magdi-determine kung ilan ang zeros na ating gagamitin. If the case is we are using 10 as our base. Okay? So, kapag gumagamit tayo ng 10 as our base, yung ating exponent, yun po yung magdi-determine kung ilan ang zeros na ating isusulat. Now, in the case of the exponent is 0, let's say for example, 12 to the power of 0. Now, in this case, so we are, the answer here is always 1. That is the product or the standard form. It is said any number having a exponent of 0, the number or the value of it or the standard form is always 1. Okay, ulitin ko po. Kahit anong number ang ating gagamitin dito na may exponent na ginagamit natin na 0, ang value niyan ay 1. Okay? Now, what about if we will be using, let's say for example, 12 to the power of 1. Now, in the case of this, using the exponent which is 1, the answer is always the number, which is 12. Okay po? So, ulitin po natin bago po ako magtatapos sa aking talakayan sa gabing ito at harinawa ay naintindihan ninyo. Sa ating tinalakay kanina, meron po tayong tinatawag na sa exponential notation, meron po tayong tinatawag na dalawang term na dapat natin tandaan. Yun po yung tinatawag nating base at saka yung exponent. Alin po ba yung base? Yung base po, yun po yung number na i-multiply natin sa ating exponential notation. Then, the number that is written at the top, which is written in a small 1, let's say for example, the 2 of 10 to the power of 2 or 10 squared, that is what we call the exponent. This 2 determines or tells how many times are we going to multiply our base, which is 10. 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 2 or 10 squared, that is equal to 100. Okay, so another example we have here, 5 to the power of 3 or 5 cubes. So how are we going to write it into expanded notation? Simply, you are going to base your answer here. Our base is 5, so we have here 5. Then how many times are we going to multiply it with 5 with itself? We have 3. So 5 times 5 times 5, that is 3. So the value is 125. So another one, we have 5 times 5 to the power of 4. So again, our base is 5. Then the number, how many times are we going to multiply it with 5? So we have 4. So 5 times 5 times 5, that is equivalent to 525. So another one, 10 squared or 10 to the power of 2. So how are we going to write expanded notation? So we have 10 times 10, which is equivalent to 100. To make it short, 10 to the power of 2. Then we have here 10 to the power of 5. So we are going to write it 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, or 5 to the power of 10 to the power of 5, which is 100,000. So we do not need to multiply it anymore, since it says that if we are going to use 10 as our base, then the exponent will determine how many zeros are we going to write. That's why if we are going to look at with our example here, 10 to the power of 5, we will be having 100,000. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's it. That is our power. Then write the remaining number, which is 1. Now, in the case of 12 to the power of 0, it is said that any number that we are going to use as our base, then having the exponent of zeros, the answer is always 1. The value of that number is always 1. And if we will be using any number having the exponent which is 1, the answer is always the number. What is our number here? That is 12. So let's say, for example, if we will be using 5 to the power of 1. So our answer here is always 5. I hope you learned something from me for these lessons that I have presented to you this time, and hoping that we will see each other in the next videos that I will be uploading here, para nang sa gayon ay marami pa kayo matutunan. Maraming salamat po sa aking estudyante na si Kent Tumanhog, at sa harinawa ito ay nakatulong sa inyo ng mabuti, ng marami, hindi lamang sa iyo, maging sa mga batang nanonood sa kanilang tahanan dahil sa pandemic na ito. Maraming salamat po. Magandang gabi po. At huwag niyo pong kalimutan, bago po ako magtapos, huwag niyo pong kalimutang i-subscribe ang aking YouTube channel, at paki-click na rin po ang notification bell nang sa gayon ay lagi kayong updated sa aking YouTube channel sa kaganapan nito. Maraming salamat po. Hanggang sa muli.